So today we are going to talk about the common issue for the GS-F and the RCF, which is the carbon fiber trim delaminating. And it only affects, so in the GS-F there were 3 different trims you could get. You could get a Naguri aluminum trim on the inside, you could get regular carbon fiber, which is what the bulk of them have, and you could get a forged carbon fiber, which don't appear to be having that issue, but the forged carbon fiber was not available for the USA market. You could get it in Puerto Rico, you could get it in Canada, and the rest of the world, but the US, we didn't get it, or the Naguri aluminum. So the issue you see that. So the issue is this trim has a resin or a clear coat on top of it, and over time it will start to delaminate. So the cause of that appears to be cold, so contracting, the shrinking, and that's what is causing it to delaminate. This particular one here was on the passenger side front door, and so right here you have the vent, the air vent, and it blows right here. Well, guess what? That cold on a hot day, you start the car, starts blowing cold air out, and it'll just start peeling back. And others have reported, for example, the very first cold night of the season, but you left the car outside, and then they came out, and it just looks like this all of a sudden. That's not unusual for that to happen. The center console piece is right above where the rear vents go, and so this piece gets very cold. Those of you that have a GS-F know what I'm talking about. Even the center pieces, the trim gets cold in the summer. So it's not very well insulated, but the cold makes it delaminate. And so these are just a couple of the pieces. What the most common you're gonna see is to the left of the steering wheel and to the right of the steering wheel, or above the glove box, the airbag. Those are very common to see delaminating. And what it'll do is it'll start from a corner, and let me see if I can show you here. It'll start looking right there. You kind of see the edge of it starting. And so that's what you're gonna see if you're looking at one of these used. If you see that on the edge of any of the trim, specifically on the front, the driver's front door to the left of the steering wheel, to the right of the steering wheel, the center console, and the passenger front door. If you see that, just know that it's coming. And why this is such a big deal, this car has 9 pieces like this inside. The rears don't typically have the problem, the fronts do, but if you were to replace all 9 of those pieces, you're looking at almost $10,000 retail price to replace these. Lexus appears to have done a little bit to try to assist. There is a customer service campaign called the ZLZ or the ZLZ campaign, and what that is, it's for all 4th gen Lexus GS's, and so you're talking about 2013 to 2020, and those cars, I think it's 2013, those cars were covered for an additional 10 years from their in-service date for, they say, the front instrument panel and or certain trim pieces. Well, a couple people and dealers, they have agreed that those front pieces next to the steering wheel and the glove box, those are part of the instrument panel, so those get replaced. So Lexus covers it, labor for it, everything like that. There's other dealers that straight out deny it, and there's a couple in between where you'll take it to the dealership and they'll say, well, maybe we'll talk to Lexus and they'll give you $1,000 assistance or something. Well, $1,000 doesn't even buy this piece. This piece is like $1,300. So if you do have this issue, what I've experienced with mine, because mine has 4 of these pieces failing, so 2 have been replaced already out of my own pocket because Lexus didn't want to cover them under this program, obviously. The car is out of warranty. The extended warranty it had expired in November of 2023, so a little over a year ago. But it's had this issue even before that. Just the previous owner, he talked to his dealer, which is Newport Lexus, there in Southern California, and they said, no, we're not gonna fix it. So what I did is I contacted Lexus Brand Engagement Center. So that's basically Lexus corporate. and they have a place on their website, and I'll leave the link in the comments here, in the video description. They have a spot where you can submit pictures, the VIN of your car, and the issue. And so they'll go, okay, we'll take a look at them. And they look at them and say, you have to take it now to a Lexus dealer and have them officially inspect it. And Lexus dealer will submit the photos to Lexus, which is fine. And then Lexus will come back and say, either we're going to replace it, we're not going to replace it, or we're going to give you some assistance towards replacement just because, you know, it's terrible. But what I've seen through the forums and everybody that's had them replaced so far is Lexus is not consistent whatsoever, other than if it's a lower mile example, you're going to be more likely that they will replace them. So the original customer service program, 10 years or 125,000 miles from the original in-service date is the coverage date that you get. If they don't cover it under that ZLZ, then you're at their mercy to see if they're going to replace it. So as I said, I went through the Lexus Brand Engagement, and they said, okay, take it to a dealer. I'm in East Texas. The closest dealer to me is 98 miles away. And all the dealer did is just took their iPad out, took a bunch of pictures of all the trim, and then decided to submit it to Lexus. So about 2 or 3 weeks goes by, I get a call from the service manager, and he says, hey, it looks like Lexus is going to cover the parts. And I said, all of the parts, some of the parts? He said, it looks like they're going to cover all the parts. I said, okay, great. So he went ahead and submitted the work order to get the parts ordered, and a couple more weeks go by. So this whole process started in April of 2024. So here it is December, and they're still not replaced, and you'll see why. So a couple more weeks goes by. Says, I got good news and bad news. The good news is they're going to cover the front two. The bad news is they're not going to replace these two, and so those are the more expensive parts. So I said, okay, well, let's go ahead and continue on. I went ahead and ordered these other two online, and I figured next time it goes back to the dealer when they replace the others, I'm going to go ahead and have them replace these. So a couple more months go by, and the parts have arrived. I guess one of them was on back order, so that was the delay. So went ahead and made an appointment, took it to the dealer in Dallas. It's another 2-hour drive there. They, of course, being a Lexus, they give you free loaner cars, so that's great. So I had a loaner car for a week. Nobody looked at the parts when they came in, and one of them came in damaged. I asked him why he didn't just replace the one, because it has to be as a complete work order, both parts. Here we are waiting now. It's almost the end of the year. Parts still haven't come in, but the parts have been approved and they're on order. So hopefully that should be resolved. But this started in April. Here it is December. So you're talking about 8 months to get this resolved for two parts that, you know, potentially a couple $1,000s. So, I mean, I think it's still worth the hassle to get this done. But anyway, I just wanted to share what my process was. And if you have a 2016, some of these are in service in 2015. So that 10-year mark is coming up. So if yours is delaminating, make sure you go through this process with the Lexus Brand Engagement so you can get it covered. Worst case, you know, they offer some assistance. I've seen where Lexus will cover the labor if you cover the parts, or vice versa. I've seen $1,000 assistance. I've seen $1,500 assistance. And it's really just credit on your account. So there's a couple people that they just said, forget it, I'm going to go buy it myself at a online place so I can get it cheaper, and then just have the credit applied towards something at Lexus. So that's the whole process. I highly suggest at least attempting. Worst case, they say no. There is probably, I'd say 35 or 40% of them that have already had it replaced, but it's almost exclusively on the 16 and 17s. The part number has not changed, but I don't know if they've updated it. So the earliest ones I've seen that have been replaced for cars that were in service in 2015 is about 2018. So you're talking about 15, 16, 17, 18. So you're talking 3 years. Those cars may or may not have had to have it replaced again, or people just quit caring at this point. But at the end of the day, these are still $50,000 to $80,000 cars. So you still, you know, you want it to look nice, and you don't want to have this peeling trim. Alternatively, if Lexus flat out denies it and you just don't want to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on replacing your trim, then you can peel this resin off and you can take it to a body shop and have it clear coated. There are a few people that I've seen that have rattle canned it and they look terrible. It's really, really hard to get the same OEM texture. But if you take it to a body shop and have them clear it, or even a carbon fiber specialist, Elvin Wong is a very popular Instagram guy that does carbon fiber for these cars. He does that. I think he sells replacement parts and they're significantly cheaper than these. So that's another option as well. So anyway, if you guys have had problems like that, let me know in the comments. And if you've gone through this process, did they replace it? Did they deny it? I'm curious to see what your thoughts are and if it's an issue for you. The RCF has a similar problem, but I don't own an RCF, so I'm not very familiar with it, but it has the same problem, but it typically happens around the instrument panel buttons, like the window switches, things like that. So again, let me know, and thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the thumbs up, comment down below. We'll see you soon. Thanks.